Right, I'm back. If anybody wants to turn their screens on and just have a chat, I'd be delighted. I got a hot chocolate. I was inspired by Claire Tea. Hi, Louise. Hi, Helen.
You've got to love a hot chocolate. Gotta love a hot chocolate.
In my house, we call it chocolate. You won't be surprised to hear.
That's fine.
Hi everyone.
We've got
Hi, how you doing, Jigna?
Yeah, I'm good.
we
Good.
call it things in every other language so that my kids don't get the idea that we're on hot chocolate.
Oh, you
Did you
sneak
ever
your
use
hot
the
chocolates.
Yeah, because
do
if
you ever
not, they
use
want one.
Go
the
on, Jigna.
mugs? The mugs for Coke and things.
Go on, what do you mean?
So when my kids were younger, we used to drink like fizzy drinks out of mugs so they couldn't see what we were drinking.
Mine would crack that. Mine would
How old are your
crack
kids? You look
Oh no,
at
they're a lot older now. This is when they were like sort of 8
honestly.
months. So no,
I
mine
thought you were in your
18 now.
20s. Okay.
No. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I thought you were young. Your kids are 18, did you say?
Yes.
Blimey.
Yes. They're 18. One's 18. This I can't actually believe it myself.
Gonna be
Yeah,
there
but
before you know it, Julia. I know.
oh, shush you.
How
So
old are
mean to
yours?
me. My eldest is 17, my youngest is 8. So it's teenage fest in my house at the moment.
Always good fun.
Wow.
Not
My mother
the
did
one I
warn
knew.
me. Are we live streaming this, Hannah?
Oops.
Yes, we
It's
are.
fun. Yeah, apparently one of them is following us on Instagram at the moment, and Odette is sharing all sorts of mischief on there. So
We love our children, really, really lots. But we
we
don't
do love
mind
our
taking hot
children.
chocolate from them.
No, we love hot chocolate.
More than
Sometimes more.
remember that advert? Do you remember that advert at least growing up for me? Which is naughtier, daddy or chips?
Oh, genius!
That
I
sounds
like that a
familiar.
lot.
I think it was McCain's, and I think the answer is daddy in most cases.
Okay.
But which is better, children or hot chocolate?
Chocolate.
Uh,
I
it's
don't
close
know.
call.
My 5-year-old's pretty wonderful, to be fair. Like he can also
Oh,
really
who
not
said
be.
Oh,
that?
Me.
Oh,
I've got.
Claire, good for you.
He's so cute. He was sitting on my lap under my. I've literally, as we've been talking this morning, I've finished the tassels on one side of my blanket, and we were
Yay, good
sitting
for
under it the
you.
other day having a snuggle, and I gave him a really good squeeze, and I was like, "I love you, and I'm making the most of this cuddle while you're
That's
still
right.
little and want them." And he went, "Mummy, I'll always want cuddles from you."
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
so
not gonna last.
mushy. Yeah, but you might not want cuddles from him when he's big and smelly. That's the
That's
problem.
also very true.
I'm at that stage where I see other people's babies now and I go all googly because, like, when you're at the baby stage, they're just everywhere, right? And then you get to this point where you don't get to hold a baby and see a baby and all that preciousness that you can even remember the feel of. It just wanders out of your life.
We
Yeah,
need
I
to
I
do.
can't
I've got
wait
a
to be a
grandbaby
grandma.
as well.
Yes.
I'm already
Have
a
you got a
grandma.
grandbaby, Louise?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I want one.
Who said that?
Not
Who
yet.
said that?
I
I've
said
got a
I
25-year-old and a 5-year-old. So
gosh.
my
Claire.
granddaughter she's a year old at the end of December.
How
My
are you
daughter's very
standing?
newly pregnant again. And funny enough, yesterday when I went tutoring, it was a new client, and mum is a early years, not teacher, but she works in early years, but does
Practitioner.
child
Practitioner,
minding
yeah.
in her own time. So I turned up to teach this 13-year-old girl, and the 1-year-old that she was looking after just instantly put her hands out to me for a cuddle. I was like, all right then,
Oh,
I'm okay with
I
that.
I will take that. What a yummy thing. There's something really trustful about, there's nothing wrong with the young near peer tutors, but there's something really trustful for a mum about knowing you've raised your own kids.
And haven't killed them yet.
And no.
Just saying.
She's only half joking, Louise.
Yeah.
I think with my
I had real reason,
25-year-old,
but now I
I've
don't
definitely
know.
done better by other people's children sometimes than I did with her.
So that's interesting, isn't it? You're on your best behaviour.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that lack of emotion as well. Like they know your trigger points.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
I know
literally
which
you don't
brought to
have as
buttons
this
to
much on
earth.
it.
press. Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
literally brought to this earth to trigger you. And like the learning and healing I've had to do because of my son has been tremendous.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar.
I would just
Yeah.
like to refer, Julia, to the picture that I sent through on the QT chat the other day about
What was it?
the one of Beth to make Georgina smile.
Oh, poor love.
Complete felt tip all over her face.
I have a rule. You can eat felt tips, just don't eat the red one.
Yeah,
That's scary.
Not the red one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why not
because
the
it
red
looks like your
one?
mouth's bleeding. Hi, Helen. We're just having a
Oh.
silly conversation. Welcome. Yeah, don't eat the red one. It looks like your mouth's bleeding. That's scary for mummy. Eat the green one. That's fine.
And worse
Fair point.
worse if they swallow it and it comes out the other end, because that's even more scary.
Oh, Helen, we are live streaming. Have mercy on Jeremy. He's just come in here. He's not warmed up for this yet.
Sorry, Jeremy.
Oh, welcome.
Let's be real. It's all about the Lego and the children's stories.
I have
Oh,
had glitter
fair
come out the other end.
Yeah, see, I've not had that one yet,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
Me
yeah,
either.
glitter.
You have me at Lego.
I have a friend whose baby's nappy was ringing recently because he tucked the phone in there.
Oh,
Oh no!
If she hadn't had a phone call, she'd have never found it.
well, eventually she might have.
Hopefully, eventually, I see that, but maybe it would have been too late by then. You know. Tomorrow, I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Jeremy,
This is where we are right now.
So I take it back to Lego, Jeremy. For
Yeah.
my kids have decided they want to sell some of theirs.
Oh,
But
right. Why?
all in one. It's just they want to get more. They want to get Harry Potter Lego, so they're getting rid of the Lego Friends Lego.
Helen, I need to. I can't walk into a Lego shop anymore. I need shares. It's got out of hand, so
You can't see mine.
I
I've
just
got the
I
bits
just
I've
can't.
got to do, but this is I'm being a very delightful mother. They will appreciate it when they're older, and sorting it all out so we can actually sell it. So
Mine's even in the bathroom. I've even got a yacht in the bathroom. I just can't anymore. It's just
We
it's
go
so
to
out of
Lego
hand.
Club at the local library, and I just I'm trying to. I love the fact they've got the pinks and the purple bricks in there, but my brain wants to sort them all out. Especially you need all the tiny pieces because shuffling through all the big pieces to get the teeny tiny ones is a nightmare. But then I'm like, now I just need everything in boxes, and I don't even know where I'd start categorizing it.
I've got
My
mine in
son's-
coloured trays from one of those home bargains, all in a
like it.
stack. So my niece just comes in and knows exactly what to do.
we did that. But
Pour them
now,
all out over the
that
floor,
is
so
a
you have to
cool
sort it out
uncle.
again, right?
No,
Now-
she's particular.
Oh, good.
She will sort all day long.
now we need to sell them as kits. I've got the big pieces in one of those and the little pieces in one of those. But if you
Okay.
Amazing.
if you see me
So
ducking down, it's because I've dropped a piece on the floor underneath me.
My eldest daughter just told me that the reason why she never played Lego was because her two older brothers were Legoers and she kept getting the pink pieces. So there were two things. Basically, they'd claimed it and she was lumped with Lego friends. And those two things meant that it was just, she said it was the same as Star Wars. She didn't even bother with Star Wars because they claimed it first.
Oh,
Oh. Well, she'll have a lot to enjoy when she loses her two older brothers and she's the oldest in the house, and then she can watch Star Wars.
It's actually really interesting. My little ones, who my big ones were raised without TV, and the little ones are COVID babies, so they had plenty TV, and they don't know how to build a structure that can hold itself up. They don't know how to build a solid base. It's really interesting.
wow.
Sorry.
It is maths.
It's maths. Sorry, Julia.
Helen, I think you're winning on the maths geekness.
Yes, but Julia knows this because she's known me long enough now.
It's almost like Helen's become a caricature of herself. So it's just you just got to bring it.
I mean, I did one of these brand things, and actually, this will lead in quite nicely.
Did you?
In a minute, I did a brand thing where you go and look at other brands and then look at the words that associate you. You did this, Julia, for me, and you go and ask your friends and people around you what three words they'd use to describe you. And actually, this is something that Helen Dickman did in her Love Mondays Club. So there's a massive plug for Helen in a minute. But to go and work out what branding you want to do and how you want to present yourself. Between the QT guys that I know and my family, quirky was high on the list. Crazy followed it not much after. I mean, there was kind in there, but quirky was definitely.
When we were deeply in COVID times and you first joined a QT meeting and you told me that you were called, am I allowed to say?
It depends what, I can't remember what it was.
At uni.
Muted it out.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. You can say that one. It's fairly obvious when you look
Helen
at it.
Mellon was her nickname at uni. Helen, you're nodding as well. Did you ever get Helen Mellon? Did you? Is that a thing? Okay, so you told us in that first meeting that you were wacky, and you've lived up to it, my darling.
It's got to be done, hasn't it?
So where was the plug for Helen Dickman?
So one of the things inside her Love Mondays Club, sorry, she's smiling at me now. One of the lots of things inside Love Mondays Club, but there's a lot of stuff on how to brand and present yourself. And when you're doing your marketing, you can do it in lots of different ways, but you want your marketing to match how your brand is. So have a look at what attracts you to other brands and what repels you, and then have a think about what you want and ask other people how they see you, and then kind of come up with a mishmash of. There it is. That look familiar, Helen?
Hopefully not mishmash though, Helen. Hopefully
Oh, no.
structured and organised.
Coherent structure of. It was a mish, but yeah. So there's lots of help like that inside Love Mondays Club. Just the plug, Helen. There.
That's awesome, Helen. For context, we were just talking, and we just run a supervision circle that was completely beautiful. And Jigna, is it okay if I speak about you? So we were just talking about.
Go for it. No, go for it.
Yeah, Jigna did a mastermind for us where we were talking about finding work, pricing yourself properly, having the confidence to stay the course. And so we really thought that your session would be very helpful.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. It's I think that's such an interesting topic as well, like what you're talking about there about sort of holding strong with your pricing as well. It's easy to get the wobbles.
Jigna, go ahead, don't be shy.
I find it's a very steep learning curve coming out of the education sector and just trying to hold your nerve when you're trying to pursue leads and clientele and just trying to keep going. I didn't realize it would be so hard, if that makes sense. I literally started my business up and did some business cards initially, thinking that I would just get business. I didn't realize how hard it would be to attract business, if that makes sense.
And I think as well, like when you talk about like the pricing stuff, I think it's another steep learning curve. Like, I don't know how many other people here did this, but like you feel like, oh, is my price too high? Maybe I'll put like an offer on there or make it cheaper. And it doesn't actually make any difference to it. Like 9 times out of 10, it's not the money, it's the messaging and the value and things like that is the challenge.
Initially, Helen, I got so kind of worried about my price bracket that I was speaking to Pamela, and I still can't believe I did it, but because I was in such a place and I was just in, it was summer and I didn't know what to do because I wasn't here. I didn't realize and this was recently, but it's the wrong time, but I was thinking I'm not attracting anyone. So at one point I was literally just giving 5 lessons away, and I had someone told me back and sort of say, what are you doing? Another tutor friend sort of said to me like, what are you doing, what? And then when he told me, he goes, remember, if you're marketing anything for free, you're basically saying your service isn't good enough, so I'm giving it to you for free. And he'd sort of talk to me and say, what are you doing? You're like, you've got all these qualifications and yet you're doing this.
I also think as well, you spent the time, what they should be paying for it. Like, I'm not a fan of free sessions at all, even like a free first session, because that's still my time. And if you're not going to pay me for it, then somebody else will.
Yeah, I've never done one.
No, I realise that now. That's sort of kind of the sort of hard way, if that makes sense, because then you sort of, people come to you, they sort of have the free session that you've put a lot of energy into. They get taught that, and then they just say, you know what, I've done that lesson, I've understood that, and I move on, and then you don't hear from them again.
You can always do it so how I do it now is it's a no commitment first session. You pay for it, but you are not signing up and committing to a longer period without that first session first. If they want to get to know you a little bit and see if you work, because you don't want to work with a student that doesn't connect with you. If you can't click or you can't support, you don't want to be signed in to doing that and all going through the whole faff of it. I do the first session as you pay for it, but there's no commitment. After that, you are signing up and you need to give me however many weeks notice. I think it's 2 in my terms and conditions. That if you want to stop. So then it's they can try you. If it doesn't fit, that's okay, but then you're still getting the money for the time. If that makes sense. But that's where doing sort of a little live, and when we say lives on Facebook, not necessarily broadcasting a session, But
a recorded snippet.
Yeah, a snippet, or don't even record an actual session, do a fake session. Nobody knows.
Authenticity.
Or I was working on this. Sorry, Helen, you're gonna join Love Mondays Club because she's gonna tell you to do all this anyway in there. But I was working with a student on ratio today, and we noticed that this was, and I've noticed this is a common problem. So here is your tip. If you want more support, bang. I mean, don't bang.
Yeah.
So that's what we mean by lives, and not necessarily a full live session, but just a snippet. People aren't going to watch a full live, 5 minutes at most. Just a little thought. So there we go. Sorry, I'll let Helen do her talk in a minute. So good. It's trouble. Shouldn't put two Helens in the same room.
Helen, that's the sign. Helen, that's a sign of a good teacher, isn't it? When for Helen Dickman to see you sharing what you've learned from her is the most affirming experience for a teacher.
It is.
Yeah, note that I haven't yet necessarily put it all into practice yet. That's still a work in progress.
Doesn't mean you haven't learned it.
If Helen puts us on LinkedIn or Twitter, or not Twitter, the other one, Facebook later, I'm expecting a name drop there, Helen.
I will, don't you worry.
Awesome.
So ask a question. Oh, sorry.
Yes, of
if I'm
course.
on Google Business, do you get any, like, before I put myself on there, has anyone had any dodgy, like, people knocking at the door after Google Business? Or
don't put your whole postcode in. You don't have to put your whole postcode in. So I am in the SN blah blah area, just because I'm aware that this is going live. But I haven't done SN blah 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 as my whole postcode, because I don't want people turning up at my door unless they're actually coming to me for in-person work. But you can put in SN and it'll sort of give you a region, and then when somebody searches, it'll come up on Google Maps in that region.
Thank you.
But yeah, there's a safety element there that I was very hesitant because of, I don't want people seeing where I actually live.
I've got the Google Maps has got, when you look at the map, it's pinned on my neighbour's house. So they knock on theirs, not mine.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's a good strategy. Not sure that's what we're after here.
I mean, you can do the actual address if you've got in-person people coming to you, but you don't want that on Google. You want that going out on your email at the end to lessons will be at, here's the address.
I've just been trying to find something. Oh, sorry.
It's 11 o'clock. And you know that punctuality is one of my things. So welcome back to Qualified Tutor, Love Tutoring Autumn Festival. We felt that this was the right thing for tutors right now, and it seems to be absolutely right because this room is buzzing. If you're joining us on LinkedIn, you are also welcome to join us in the room. I think there are still some tickets on Eventbrite. We had 200 people sign up for this event. And if you're a member, you'll be able to access the recordings afterwards as well. If you want to find out more about what Qualified Tutor does and how we support tutors, I've dropped my Calendly link in the chat. You can book in a quick 15-minute session with me, and I will tell you all about us, because this session is not about me, it is about Helen. Helen Dickman and her brilliantly titled Love Mondays Club is someone that I've been following and admiring for some time, because everything that you do and the way that you present yourself is joy, Helen, and I'm very, very much looking forward to learning who you are, what you're about, and how you can help us today. So I'm going to hand straight over to you. I think you have share screen. I will pin you, it won't hurt. These sessions are intentionally a little bit raucous. We're quite participatory, but mostly in the chat. So use the chat, ask your questions, share your insights. Charlotte Watson, what a treat to see you, my darling. And let's get going.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Julia. So I'll just quickly share my screen, double check it's all working and get the chat box. So I've got two screens as well. So if it looks like I'm looking out the window, I'm not. I'm just looking over at my other screen. Fab. Can everyone see that okay? Is that all sharing all right? Excellent. Good stuff. Okay, fab. So thank you so much for coming along to watch this today. I didn't feel nervous until Julia just suddenly said 200 tickets and sold, and suddenly like the butterflies have kicked in. So here we go. So I'm here to talk to you today about email marketing and how it can transform your business. And I'm going to give you a bit of a sort of beginner's guide to it, bit of background on how you can use it in your business. Also as well, hello, I can see lots of members of Love Mondays Club here and also some clients I've worked with in the past. So it's nice to see lots of familiar faces. And I can also see some familiar faces of people who saw me do a similar talk like this at the Tutors Association. But don't worry, it is different. I've put some new stuff in there, so you're not going to be hearing a total repeat of everything I spoke about in London. So a little really quick background on me is so mainly inside Love Mondays Club, what I do is help with sort of tutors, trainers, also coaches as well, hypnotherapists as well. We've got some new people joining us, but we talk about like how to grow and scale our services, and mainly I help people with creating like group programs or memberships and subscriptions, because that's what my sort of education business is based on as well. And for me, it's all about helping you with marketing, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges we face with growing our business, and I want to give you more sort of confidence in how to do it, the kind of clarity of what you should be doing, and also that kind of commitment and consistency, because that's one of the most important things with it all. So just to help me a little bit today, I was going to ask if you could just quickly in the chat box give me, I know quite a few businesses here already, but maybe just give me a little quick summary of your business and what you offer, because as I go through, I want to give you some like examples as well, and sort of keep it relevant for you guys. So I'll just give you a minute, just quickly scribble that in the chat box. Okay. Look. I've got math, secondary school, English group tuition, online key stage 2, key stage 3, handwriting. Oh, that's interesting, Claire. The EFT tapping. I've always wanted to learn more about that. That's very cool. Hello, Lauren. Nice to see you. Confidence-based. Science, A-level maths tutor, fabulous. English and maths, excellent. Latin and Greek. Perfect. Okay. Okay, I am skim reading through them all as they're all coming in really quickly now. French. Hello, Caroline. Primary. Excellent. Okay, good stuff. Perfect. So a lot of us here offering sort of quite similar things. So I'll be able to give lots of examples sort of as we go through this. But also, you know, slightly different spins on the business as well. So we can talk about that and how email marketing can help you. So just a little quick nosy background into kind of who I am and where I got to where I am today and why I want to talk to you about this stuff. So I've been working for myself now for like, I think it's my 6 or 7 year anniversary next month of like full-time working for myself. So I started off with HD Home Tuition. That was my first business, and that was kind of a typical new business. I would work with anyone, and whatever they asked me to do, I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Why not? And then I got myself doing lots of one-to-one and decided, you know, that I'd kind of hit that glass ceiling pretty quickly in my business, and that I needed to unpick what I had done and streamline it, really niche down on a service, and start doing group programs. So I then teamed up with another lady, and we now run the 11 Plus English Club. So this still runs, I have like my training business that I'm doing here with you guys today, Love Mondays Club, but I've also got my education business as well that I run on the side. So the education business is totally a membership model. So people just pay us a sort of rate every month consistently throughout the whole year. And we use group classes and online courses to kind of create that experience and support our students. And then from that evolved coming into Love Mondays Club. So that all started with another tutor a couple of years ago, asked me to help them with their business. And then here I am today doing all of this. So that's my background. And one of the main things that's helped me to grow sort of all of this and scale all of this is email marketing. And it's why you'll find me talking about it all the time, because I think it's a bit of a hidden gem that lots of us, you know, don't always use to its full potential or don't use at all. So we're in the right place today. If you feel like you spend too much time on social media and you wish there was an easier way to market your business, if you have a lot of admin going on in your business and you feel like it takes up a lot of time, and you wish that you could automate these things. And finally, one of the biggest things, and we were kind of talking about this just before we started this session, you want to grow your audience, and with this you want to make more sales and sort of build your services as you go through. So does anyone here currently use email marketing? Why don't you just put your hands up? I'll skim through. Kind of. Not many hands. Okay, so a couple of people I can see. Fabulous. In the chat box as well. Use MailerLite, not yet, not effectively, no. Have a list. Do you know what though? We'll talk about that. The list size, it is important, but it's not like social media. It's not about having hundreds and thousands of followers. Perfect. And okay, a few people telling me what systems they use as well. Fab, we'll talk about that. Claire is working on it. Fabulous. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk to you about how email marketing can help you in your business. So I think for a lot of us here saying they're not quite using it just yet, so I want to give you a bit of a behind the scenes of like how I've used it over the years and what it helps me with. And it's not just about sending emails. Tips around a bit of software and the setup of it all. And also, importantly, how to actually start growing your email list, because I think that's another sticking point for us, isn't it? Like, how do you actually even get people onto the list in the first place? So also, as Julia said, you know, please feel welcome to interrupt me, ask me questions. I have got the chat box on my screen as well, so I'm trying to read and talk efficiently at the same time. But yeah, feel free to interrupt if you have any questions. So 5 ways to use email marketing. So one of the biggest things with it is it's really good for lead generation. So what I mean by this is the way it essentially works is we create something called a lead magnet. Has everyone here heard of a lead magnet? Or kind of know what I'm referring to? So for a few people sort of saying no, a lead magnet essentially is maybe, as an example, I bet all of us here have got loads of resources that we've created inside our business that our clients love and find them really useful. So that right there would be a fantastic example of a lead magnet. So it's something that you would package up in a little PDF, and there's a way of doing this as well. It's not just, you know, here's my free resource. You also want to put a bit of context around it, like who you are and how to contact you and things like that. But ultimately, you're giving away a free resource to people so that they can get a really quick win and get like a good taste and flavor of what it's like to work with you. But in exchange for that, they give you their email address. So for you guys at the moment, it's Black Friday, isn't it? So I bet every single website you go onto at the moment, within about 10 seconds, something pops up on your screen telling you that if you put your email address in there, they'll give you an extra 10% off or whatever it might be the sale already is. That's an example of a lead magnet as well, because they're trying to get you on their mailing list, and you know what will happen. You'll then get inundated with emails. And I think that right there is a reason why a lot of us shy away from email marketing. So we feel like, oh, it's really spammy. You know, like I spend my life just either my inbox is on 10,000 by now that are unopened emails, or, you know, we just constantly deleting them and not even opening them. So that's not what I'm all about with this. Like, email marketing is actually a really powerful way of like building really good connections with people as well. And you don't have to spam them. But what happens is with this lead generation, you give them the free lead magnet, you get the email address, and then we send them a series of like strategic emails, normally about a day apart. So just to kind of keep you fresh in their memory. And you can warn people, you can say to them, I'm going to email you over the next few days. I'm going to share with you X, Y, and Z. And it just really helps them to get to know you. But most importantly, you can signpost people to things like, if you have a Facebook group, if you've got a website, a blog, a YouTube channel, all these sorts of things, it's a really great way of sort of signposting people towards these. And again, it really helps them to get to know you much quicker. So that's what I mean by lead generation. And of course, the whole point of this is not also just to like get loads of people on your list, but that nurturing and that building up of a sort of relationship between you means that that person's much more likely to kind of keep you front and center of their mind when they're looking for your services, or also, you know, they might reach out straight away and want to work with you. And I bet you guys might have found this in your audience, that some people will find you straight away and instantly contact you and say, I want to work with you, let's go, how do we do this? Other people might hang around and want to watch you for a few weeks or get to know you a little bit better. So that's another great thing with email marketing, is it can kind of help you with that consistency, and means that everyone who comes into your world kind of gets the same experience, like the same information about you and getting to know you. So it just gives you a lot more control as well compared to social media. So that's kind of from like a lead generation point of view. But other things that it can do in the back end of your business is onboarding. So I don't know about you guys, but when somebody, starts working with you, there's a lot of admin involved, isn't there? Sometimes, we've got to send out links, we have to send out terms and conditions. Depending on how you run your services, you might need to send them resources, all these sorts of things. So I think especially in times like September, when we sometimes have a big influx of people coming in, maybe even January, so obviously there's mocks going on at the moment in GCSE world. So these are kind of periods where we're really heavy with admin, but also really, busy with starting new classes and services and things like that. So the idea with email marketing is that you can automate this entire process in your business. So what happens is someone joins your email marketing, you tick the box to say they're a current client for, say, your new class on a Thursday, and then you can have a series of emails that goes out and automatically sends all that information to them. Because again, if you can automate these processes, why spend time manually doing it when you could be doing a million other things in your business that's going to help you to keep growing? Also as well, it gives you that peace of mind that you haven't forgotten to send the terms and conditions to that one person, or so-and-so hasn't got the link or anything like that. So it can just kind of streamline things like that for you and save you time.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question?
Please go for it.
With the automating, so what do you use to send out your automated emails? I don't use email at all.
Yeah.
So this is completely new for me. So I just wondered what you would use.
Yes, so I am going to dive in and talk to you about tech in a minute, and
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, please, it's all good. It's all good. It's a good question. So just for me, you use basically email software, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the different options. There's like free versions and paid versions. So for me personally, I use a paid version called Active Campaign, but there's a great free version that you guys could use, which is called MailerLite. And a few people have said in here they use like ConvertKit and things like that. So yeah, I'll talk through some of those.
All right, thank you.
No, it's all good. Thank you for your question. So the other thing as well is reviews and feedback. So I know that this is something, everybody I work with, I'm always encouraging them, always be asking people for feedback, always be asking for reviews, because that's a great marketing, kind of tool to put it out there and get social proof and things like that. But another thing is that, again, I found this when I first started, was that I was so busy kind of head in the ground, working, delivering all the lessons and things like that. Time would just fly by, and I would almost forget to ask for reviews or ask for feedback because I had sort of a million other things going on. So for me, what I do now is I have automated processes again in my business. So when people have been working with us for, say, 3 months, I ask them for feedback straight away. So I don't ask till the end. I don't ask them at the end when we finished working together. I ask them at least halfway through. And again, I think this is great for customer service, because it means that you can kind of see any niggles or questions that they might have and just help and support them more. Angela, please go for it.
Yeah, I think this is something that some of us might find very difficult to actually ask for feedback. And then to have it printed, it seems a little bit, it's ridiculous, and it's not good marketing strategy. And I've got a very old HND business studies that goes back donkey's years that wouldn't have gone with this. But it's really hard to say, please give me feedback, and I'm going to write it up on my Facebook page. It's uncomfortable. It's almost like we want to hide behind this professionalism that you don't ask people to give you feedback. If they offer it to you, that's a really nice feeling. But I would find this really hard to actually go up and ask for it. So how do I get over this?
So I think it's all about sort of challenging yourself and thinking why do I want this feedback? What's kind of, because you've got to be, I think, careful about what the questions are you're asking, what you want from people. One thing I would say, so Caroline says, feel the fear and do it anyway. But I think one thing with automating it, Angela, is that in some ways it almost takes it out of your control, because you don't have to sit there and manually hit send. Just anyone that comes through is automatically going to be asked for this feedback. So it's almost going on in the background of your business without you kind of being aware of it until they sort of, give you and send you that feedback. And then for me, I totally understand this. I also felt crunchy about it, because it was it's personal, it's my business. What if they're not happy? And I think sometimes the self-doubt creeps in, doesn't it? But on one flip side, I thought, well, at the end of the day, they've worked with me for this long. If they weren't happy with me, they probably wouldn't have continued working with me. So for me, the whole point of feedback is how I can keep like improving my services and growing them. And I say this to lots of people inside Love Mondays Club now, is like every decision I make is led by feedback from them. So I don't kind of go off and create new things and then come to them and say, oh, look what I made. I ask them and tell them, what do you want from me? And that becomes then my to-do list for the next few weeks to go away and create resources. And that in itself, Andrew, I think is like a really great then selling feature of your business, because it's like everything is like bespoke and made for your clients. It's not just a kind of standard, you know, everyone sort of gets the same thing. Hope that helps. So yeah, and I guess that's kind of the difference. Like feedback is more like, for me, feedback is more of a check-in with people to say like what's going well, what are you maybe like not enjoying, or is there anything you would like to change? But then the other side of it is reviews as well. So I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but you ask someone to give you a review, they say yes, no problem, and then they totally forget, and then they, you know, don't do it. A few people nodding. So, and again, that's a bit of an awkward one, isn't it? Because you don't want to keep chasing people, but equally we do need to chase them. So again, this is something I do with like reviews, is send out like a little email to people, and then I've got like a reminder series that can be automated as well. And generally it's on like the bottom of my emails and things like that, so people are just always getting a little nudge as they go along. Also as well, the passive income dream. So sitting on a beach and all the money comes rolling in. So one thing I will say is, like, I think sometimes we are definitely, since COVID and all these online courses and things have been made, there's a bit of a missell in terms of passive income. Like, it's never truly passive. We can't just make something, put it out there to the world and it sells. Like, there is always going to be, it's semi-passive. Like, there's always going to be an element of we have to keep showing up and selling it and promoting it, even if it's not something that we're sort of, you know, giving live. But email marketing, again, is a fantastic way of doing this, because you can just have automations and emails going out each week that is just gently selling your product or whatever it might be, and keeping it top of people's minds. And then finally as well, the other thing is that it's 24/7 audience growth and nurturing. So like right now, while I'm sat here talking to you guys, I know that my email systems are working for me in the background. I know that automated emails are going out to people. You know, this morning I was walking the dog. Meanwhile, all of my 11+ students got an email from me that was all about, you know, the Christmas holidays and what we're doing and how they can book on for extra activities and all that sort of stuff. So like I say, it works in the background for you as well. Okay, fab. So little reflection just for everybody is to think about, sort of based on all what we've talked about there, how would you like email marketing to streamline your business, and what admin could it remove for you? So you could do it in the chat box, or, you know, just a notebook or whatever you have. But I think it's good to kind of scribble down and just think for a couple of minutes about, like, what are the tasks in your business that you feel like maybe take up a lot of time, or that you don't enjoy doing very much, that could potentially be automated and put into a system. And while you do that, I'm just going to have a quick read through the chat box because I can't keep up.
I'd just jump in and say I
You're
find that
going
one
to
really
love this
difficult
chat
to answer.
box.
Oh. Sorry.
I've gone, Claire, you go ahead. I've muted myself.
I was just going to say, I find that a really difficult question to answer because of the whole, I don't know what I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what, I mean, I don't have the most organised business. Nothing is streamlined at all. It's just me figuring it out as I go along. So it is a bit bumbly, but I don't know how, especially something like email marketing, especially like you say, as we see it coming into our inboxes, I don't know how that would streamline my business.
Okay, so what I would do is kind of go back even a few steps before all of this, and I would think, okay, think about almost like, it's like that customer journey essentially. So from when someone discovers you all the way through to like when they finish working with you, so quite a long period with a lot of stuff involved. What are all the different things that you have to do along the way? So that's going to be like, you know, in terms of sending out the details to them about your services, maybe booking in the call, what, you know, links you need to send to them for them to sign up for you, what information you need to send them once they've signed up. So what you almost want to do is like map out what is your process, think about, and then maybe make a note of like whether it's like a quick task or like something that's a bit labor intensive. And then from there, once you kind of have that, that's when you can kind of start exploring things like email marketing and looking at, okay, how could I then take this manual process and streamline it? Like, what would that look like? Hope that answers your question, Claire.
It does. I think for me, it's so I think you mentioned yourself, some people, they'll buy straight into what you're doing, others will need those multiple contact points before they get there. And I think having that variation makes it even harder for my brain, especially to figure out where those bits would slot together and what that would look like. There are some things that I can do, but I tend to be quite spontaneous myself anyway, so I'd rather just pick up the phone to someone than have them book in an appointment, because that just feels like more aggro than just pick up the phone. So, but there are definitely things that I can take from that to improve things, so thank you.
That's all good, no worries. And yeah, I think, like you said, sort of with things being like spontaneous, I think it's I think, yeah, in terms of like the kind of like customer journey of where people come in at different points, I think the thing is we can't control that, can we? And quite often, so somebody who like did some training with me a while ago, like they were training me, one of the best things they ever said to me in terms of marketing is like, your next client is watching you right now. So you have to show up, you have to keep, you know, like showing up for them, and, you know, giving them that value and showing them like you're professional and what you do, because they may be just waiting for that one thing for you to say that makes them think, oh, all right, I'll get in touch with her now, or, you know, I'll find out a bit more about her services. So I think that's the thing, is that we don't know who's in the background watching us. So instead, by kind of creating these automated, streamlined processes, all we have to worry about is I'm just going to keep showing up consistently, doing my thing, and when the time's right for that person, they will come and contact me. So you're kind of almost, you're in control of it in that way, and from a consistency point of view. I could go into messaging as well, but that's a whole other presentation. Okay, right, I'll just skim through. Okay, good stuff. So has everyone got some ideas of sort of like how this could work for them based on what I was saying there? People? Fab. Okay, good stuff. So next thing, setting up email marketing. So this is answering the question earlier about tech and things like that. So I'm going to give you a bit of a like beginner's guide to it, and just sort of some of the like the jargon and things like that can be a bit confusing around it. So quick little jargon buster. So when you sign up to different softwares, you're going to see words like this all over the place. And I don't personally think they're that clear until you kind of get into it and understand it all. So when you talk about your list is essentially your collection of contacts. One thing I'll say with this to be careful with is not to have loads of lists of different people. It's actually better to have like one or two kind of core lists that everybody's in. So it would be like your newsletter list and your client list or something like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how you can break up those lists, because one of the most powerful things with email marketing is how you can personalize it. So a campaign is basically a regular email that you send to your list. So those like Monday morning emails that you might want to send to people, they're called campaigns. So that's what you're going to create for like a weekly message. A field or tag, it's kind of different things on different softwares, but essentially this is data that we collect about a person. So this is where email marketing starts to become a little bit Big Brother, but incredibly powerful for what it can do. So, because one of the problems with social media is that we tend to be, you know, when we're writing, yes, we're writing to kind of our ideal client and the people who we want to attract, but we're still often speaking very broadly, and it's hard to kind of really personalize the email, the messages or things that we put out there on social media. So this is what emails can do for you. So of course, there's little things just like addressing them by their name. Dear, you know, Angela, as an example, you're top of my screen, sorry, so you're the example for now. But then another thing we can do is we could also collect data, like, for example, the child's name. So we do this with our 11 Plus English Club. When we're writing emails to parents, we can, even though it's a general email that's going out to everyone, we can still personalize it and put the student's name in there. So it feels much more like a personal email rather than just a generic sort of dear everybody. Also as well, for example, I know a lot of us here, you know, we sort of teach at like different levels and different year groups and things like that. So another thing we've done in the past for the 11 plus is we've got people to share with us whether their child's in year 4 or year 5 or maybe even year 6, and that will then determine different emails that we send to them, because we don't want to advertise the year 5 mock exams to the kids in year 4, but equally we don't want to advertise, you know, the beginner's guide to the 11 plus to the year 5s when we want that to be going to the year 4s. So again, this is, because that's the thing with social media, isn't it? You're putting that service out there and it goes to everyone. But email marketing, you can segment it up and send individual kind of campaigns and emails to set groups of people to help and support them. And then the other thing I've been talking a lot about are the automations. So the automations, these are things that you set up. They're a series of emails triggered by a certain event. So for example, in the beginning, I mentioned about like the form where someone will give you their email address. That will trigger an automation. Email number 1 would be, here's your freebie that you asked for. Maybe wait a day. Email number 2, come join my Facebook group, etc., etc. And it rolls through. So none of that there is the manual. Once it's set up and turned on, all you have to do is share the link for people to sign up for your freebie. Everything else is then automatically done in the background for you. So the only thing you might be regularly doing on a weekly basis would maybe be like sending out your campaign or something like that. But again, pre-write them and schedule them as well. It depends how you like to work with these things. Okay, good stuff. So the next thing, so a bit of quick best practice for you as well in terms of email marketing. So one thing I would say is I like sending emails weekly. To be honest with you, depending on like the time of year, sometimes I'll do it twice a week, but generally at least guaranteed every Monday an email will go out. Days of the week as well, lots of people ask me about this, like what's the best day, what's the best time? I always say to people, like, experiment. One of the things I've said here is like track your data. So when you're first getting started, look at things, try experimenting with sending like emails on different days of the week at different times and look at your open rates. So for example, I very quickly established an email on a Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. had an exceptionally low open rate because everyone's out, they're busy. And like I said earlier, if the people in your list are the kind of people who've got 10,000 unopened emails, that if your email's not in the top 5 of their kind of inbox, they're probably not going to see it and it's going to fall down. So you want to be a bit strategic about that as well. So a little tip for you, I found sending emails, scheduling them for really early in the morning is really effective, because I don't know about you guys, but the first thing I check on my phone are my emails. I look at that before I ever go to social media. So that's why for me, first thing I want, one of the first things my clients to see is my email coming through. Angela, please go for it.
Okay, you talk about keeping lists clean and simple. Do you have an automated opt-out as well? Is that easy to implement?
It's a default in there. It has to be in there. So it's all to do with all like the GDPR stuff. So every email software provider you use, they'll automatically put at the bottom the option for somebody to unsubscribe from your list. Yeah. So you're not kind of like hoarding people's data or keeping it without their consent. And when they sign up for the lead magnet as well, you'll have something on there that's saying, they're signing up to receive emails from you and things like that. It's always worth at the bottom, like near the unsubscribe bit, having a little box that says, you are receiving these emails because you either, downloaded this freebie or you signed up via my website or something like that. Because again, especially if you go through a period where maybe you don't send emails for a little while, again, have you guys ever experienced this? You've looked in your inbox and you see an email from someone, you're like, who is this? Like, where has this come from? And you forget you signed up to something a few months ago and then you haven't heard from them since. So it's good to have that little reminder, and that will stop people like unsubscribing really quickly as well. Okay, so so you want to track things like your open rates and your click-through rates. So what I mean by click-through rate is it's really helpful and important, I would say, to try and put links into your emails as you go through. So that could be like a button, like click here to go watch this or see this or whatever it might be, or go to my website, or you can just hyperlink a word, either way. But what we want to do is have those links in there so that as people are clicking on them, it's essentially what it's doing is teaching inboxes that you are a safe sender, because one thing we can't control is whether we land in people's spam folders. There are things we can do to avoid that. But the more we get people clicking and engaging with our emails, the more that kind of like deems us as like a safe sender to go through to people's inboxes. And also as well, you'll be able to see who's clicking and who's clicking on what. So again, this is where you can kind of see a little bit behind the scenes. But it's also a great way for you to kind of maybe explore who might actually be interested in your services. So like as an example for you, I will send out an email in a couple of weeks. I'll send out an email about an event that I'm going to be running in January. And I'll send out just a few general emails about it with links for people to click on it and find out. And then what I'll do is nearer the time, I'll assume, okay, most people know about this now. People probably have decided whether or not they want to come. I might then send a specific email only to people who have clicked on that link. So to people who haven't clicked on the link, I'm going to assume they're maybe not interested in it this time round. So I don't want to keep kind of going on about it to them. But equally, if the people who keep clicking on it are interested, but maybe they've just forgotten to buy, then I want to send them like a little gentle reminder. So that's a really good way as well to stop people feel like you're spamming them and talking about the same thing over and over again. Like you're being strategic about kind of who you're sending out those emails to. Fabulous. Okay, good stuff. And yes, so actually, so Anna, you said there about like your emails were going to spam. So something that also really helps is when you, let's say you're creating that lead magnet and that freebie. So what will happen is people will put in their email address and hit submit, and then it'll take them to what we call like a success page. So, you know, that page where it pops up and says, you know, like, woohoo, thank you, like your freebie's on its way. I always have a little sentence that says something like, you know, sometimes the inbox gremlins get in the way and they're going to put my email in your spam folder. So make sure you go look in there and, you know, click me as a safe sender or something like that. So you basically just want to like nudge people to go look in their spam and promotions folder. Because again, you know, we're all super busy. We're being like overstimulated all the time on social media. So we might put in our email addresses and then totally forget to go look for it. So you also just want to go nudge people to do that as well. Okay, I've talked about those. And the last one, segment your contacts. So that's kind of what I've talked about here. Segmenting is essentially what I was just saying there about the example of how I can see who's clicked on a link so I can send them a specific email. Or the example I gave about like, I don't want to send an offer for year 5 students to students in year 4. So I've got to have that data, like parents have got to share that with me. But those who do, I can then give them much more like a personalized experience inside my email marketing. Fab. Any other questions about that before I move on to the next one? Real good. I'm trying to have a look in the chat box as well. Look. Thank you as well, Samantha, answering about GDPR stuff. Okay. Oh, Charlotte, hello. Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, Charlotte.
Sorry, I thought I was off mute.
So good.
Somebody has put in chat about when they changed to a business email address, it helped not going into spam. But you mentioned there were other things. That's the biggest bane of my life, is going into spam. Have you got other ideas as well as just using a business email address?
Yes. So, I mean, I think generally I always like say to people having a business email address is good, just from that kind of professionalism point of view as well. But what I would say, so it's almost like when you're setting up your email marketing, you have to be quite sort of like strategic and careful about it. Like you don't want people to kind of come into your list, receive an email and then unsubscribe straight away. Like people are going to unsubscribe, and I'll say this to everyone, you know, like from a bit of a mindset point of view, don't get hung up on people unsubscribing, because what you'll find is they might unsubscribe and then they'll be back again in a few months' time. So don't take it personally. Like we all do it, don't we? We go through and have inbox clear out, so you're just like, oh, I need a bit of space. But so if it sits around 1%, you're generally okay, and that's pretty much the average. So that's the thing, Charlotte, when you start using email marketing, you do want to keep a close eye on that percentage of people unsubscribing. But what I would say, normally when we first get started, the first people that join our list tend to be people that kind of know us. So I'm going to talk about list building in a minute, but like some of the easiest people to get onto your list are your current clients who already know you. So they're going to be like opening your emails very regularly. They're going to be clicking on things. So that in itself is going to, you know, provide you with like a bit of a safer sender reputation. But also lots of software now will actually give you like a little report before you send the email. So I noticed this the other day of one of mine. There was something in my subject line. I can't remember, it was a certain word that I'd used, but it flagged it up to me and said like, careful, before you send this, think about your wording here, because it knows it'll trigger spam filters and things like that. So yeah, all good. Fabulous.
Helen, as a
Yes.
sort of, I put in the chat as a corollary to that, and other people have said something similar. Emails that you do have for current clients, past clients, people on social media, if they've given you their email already, are you able to copy them into whichever tax system you are using in terms of being GDPR safe, etc., or do they have to sign up for? Sorry, my phone's just gone off in the background. Do they have to then, because this is where I have an issue. My Lead Magnet is, as you know, is a GCSE thing, but I have A-level students, I have other students, and I want them to get like a newslettery type thing. I have their emails. They have given me their emails signing up to me in the first place. I just copy them in, or do you? Because actually getting them to then sign up is. And somebody else said it similarly. If they've got people in a social media inbox, can they copy them over, or do they? Yeah, how do they move them around? That was just a couple of me and somebody else.
Yeah. So it's a good question. So from like a GDPR point of view, one of the main things is it's all about us like not stealing data. So as long as we have some kind of evidence to show that they have willingly given us their email address and they want to hear from us, then that's fine. So as an example for you, like in my Facebook group, I say to people, you know, joining my Facebook group, would you like to sign up to my mailing list to receive X, Y, and Z? Please put your email below. Now on Facebook groups, what we can do is I can go into the members. So let's say in a world there was a dispute and somebody tried to claim that I'd stolen their email address and they'd come in through my Facebook group. That's never happened, by the way. But if they did, I would know that I could go into that group, see the member request, and I could see there that they had put in their email, and I've got the proof that they've kind of willingly given it to me. Another thing as well is like maybe with your current clients, like what I did when I first started is I just sent them all a sort of blanket email, not through email marketing, just through my normal inbox, to say, I'm going to be using this software. It's going to streamline things and make it better for all of us. I'm going to add you in to make sure you don't miss out on anything. But if you not like to, then tell me and I'll take your email address out of it. But, you know, generally, you know, people are working with you. They've given you that permission to contact you. So, yeah. And you have it in your terms and conditions as well. So you'd put it in your terms and conditions that you use like email software and that you'll use that to communicate with them and things like that. But what they'll all be able to see at the bottom is the unsubscribe. The only problem with that, and I've had this before, is I have had a client decide to unsubscribe. So then they never received the links or anything. And then, you know, they were frustrated with me that they hadn't received the links. So sometimes you do have to like keep an eye on that as well. And just, you know, again, make it clear at the bottom, if you're a current client and you unsubscribe, you will no longer receive updates and things like that. So yeah, just kind of problem solving as you go along. Fabulous. Okay. Next one. So here's just like a little example, something I made up for you to show you kind of how like segmenting data could work. So, you know, your list would be just your kind of generic like weekly newsletter. Then you've got your contact Daisy Brown. And then here's an example, for example, of like some of the smaller field data that I would collect. So I would ask them, you know, like what's your child's name, what's their year group, and what maybe subject are they doing or something like that. I'll caveat this by saying I don't ask this level of data from people when they first join my mailing list. I only ask them for their name and their email address, i.e. the parents, because I know that a lot of parents aren't going to want to give me all of this because it's quite personal data. So generally, I don't ask for their name until they're actually a client and working with me, so I can just make sure that side of it's personalized. But as we go through, I will ask them things like year groups and things like that. And again, you can be really clever with this with email marketing. So we have an email that goes out and it says something like it's very transparent, and it says, we like to send you personalized emails and make sure that we're giving you the right support as you go through your 11+ journey. But to do this, it'd be really useful for us to know which year group is your child in. Please click from the following options. And it's literally a button that just says year 4, year 5, year 6. And all they have to do is click on it. And on their end, what they see is a website page that says, thank you for letting us know. We'll be in touch very soon with more information to share and support you with. But in the back end, them clicking on that link will add this field data to their contact profile. So in the future, if I ever want to send emails to just year 4s, it's going to make sure that Daisy Brown is on that list and she receives those emails. How do we keep them current? Presumably people are tagged as year 4, but then they need to be moved on the following year. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Anna, that is a bit of a headache. Like August, September is a bit of a pain. There's kind of 2 ways that you can do it. So I've kind of experimented over the years. So one year I did it where I just sat down and I put like the 31st of July was my like changeover. So what I did was you can bulk edit contacts as well. So I would like select all in year 4, and I would edit and say remove tag year 4, add tag year 5. So I would just manually move them up through. Another way I did it, and this worked quite well for engagement, was I sent out an email to just everybody on the list saying, like, it's a new school year, new things going on. Here are the details I have of you. So, like, for example, name, year group, blah, blah, blah. And then a little button that said, like, if any of this information is correct, please click here to update it. And for maybe 90% of people on the list, the information was incorrect because it had the wrong year group. And we had a great click-through rate of people clicking on that, putting their year group in. And again, that for me shows them they're engaged, they're interested, they want to hear from me. And that's really important as well in the list. It's not about just having, I'm not actually that bothered about how many people are on the list. I want the list to grow, but what I'm most interested in is my open rate and my engagement rate, because that's where, you know, those relationships are forming. So that is just one example for you. Yeah, also Julia said, like, you could maybe do different tags of like year 4 2023. The only thing I'll say with that, you can do that with the years, but then come a few years time, you're potentially going to have like loads of tags on there. So again, it's kind of a similar process that you might then end up deleting or removing tags and things like that. So yeah, it's very easy, I think, as well, to kind of put millions of features into there as well. Okay, fab. So how are we doing for time? Okay, so popular software to use. So everyone always asks me about this. So the one in the middle here, MailChimp, is, I'd say, well, it used to be probably the most famous one. Now I think there's lots more kind of options out there for you. So personally, like, I've used all of these here. Like, personally, I'm not a huge fan of MailChimp. Like, I just found it a bit clunky and difficult to use. And it didn't have as many features in the free version as MailerLite does. So generally, I recommend MailerLite to everybody. Now, there are lots of options out there. You know, I'm not sponsored by these guys, don't worry. But I just feel like it's quite an easy system to use. You can create automations in there for free. You can have up to 1,000 contacts for free as well. So if you want like a kind of beginner's intro to it all, I think MailerLite is a good place to start with it all. If you want something super techy and really kind of like, you know, full of all the different functions in the world, ActiveCampaign is probably the best place to go. So this is a lot more complex, but it is also insanely powerful with what it can do. So if, for example, you want to do things like ActiveCampaign can even do things like website tracking and things like that. So it can track whether one of your email users has been on your website, looked on a certain page. You could then send them a gentle nudge about it. So that's great for those like semi-passive online courses we were talking about. If you want to do Facebook ads, this is really powerful as well. Like ActiveCampaign talks really nicely to Facebook ads, so that all integrates with each other. So yeah, there's a whole world of different things, and the automations in ActiveCampaign are also insanely powerful with like date setting and, you know, if kind of statements and things like that. So yeah, those are your options. But if you're kind of sat here thinking, well, like, oh, the ActiveCampaign one sounds amazing, but I don't think I'm quite ready, doing a free version like MailerLite is fantastic. And then you can kind of copy and move your list over to ActiveCampaign. You won't be able to necessarily transfer over your automations and things that you've created. So it is a little bit of work, but it's not the end of the world if you're trying to upgrade and kind of scale up your business a bit more. And it gives you a good opportunity just to kind of refresh your automations as well. I'm not sure, Kelsey. I think so. I think recordings of this being sent out.
So recordings are being made and they're going to be available in the QT community for all of our members to be able to access.
Amazing.
And it's being live streamed, so it's all everywhere.
Good. Thank you, Hannah. Okay, fab. So email content ideas, because again, this is another thing that loads of people ask me about is, what should I put in my emails? What am I meant to be sending people emails about every week? I know a lot of us sometimes feel like, oh, what am I even meant to be talking about on social media? So I've got another layer of marketing on top of this now. So these are the kind of things that generally I find work really well. And to be honest with you, what we want to do with email marketing, the idea is this isn't about doubling up like the amount of work that you have to do. What you put on social media can also be cross-purposed, reused, whatever else in your email marketing. For me, I do it the other way around. Every week, I create an email first, and then I create social media off the back of it, because email marketing is my number one way that I get clients and build my business. So that gets my priority every week. And then the kind of the social media sort of stems off the back of it. So it could be things like business updates and behind the scenes. Like, this is something I encourage people in Love Mondays Club to do all the time, is tell people what you're doing. Like, tell them what you're creating and what you're working on and what you're covering in your classes. You know, help people to really understand like what you do and what the services involve. Pardon me, sorry. Obviously a big one is latest offers. So I know for lots of us, we're quite shy about selling. Like, we don't like, we feel like sometimes it's a bit pushy and we don't want to kind of like talk about it too much. But honestly, like, you know, to get sales and grow your business, you do need to keep consistently reminding people how to work with you. So, and again, you can do this in ways that aren't salesy and spammy. You know, there's lots of different ways, like storytelling, talking about client success, talking about, you know, like the outcomes of the offers, all this sort of stuff. And availability. So I know a few of us here probably do one-to-one, and maybe just every now and again we have little spots coming up. So for example, in my old business, when I had a waiting list, I had a specific waiting list with tags, and I would use my email marketing when a new space came available to just pop it out to people on the waiting list saying, you know, you've been on the waiting list, first come, first served, there's a space available Wednesday at 3 o'clock, or whatever it might be. So that's a really good way of doing it. Links to your social media content. So frustrating fact is that on social media, you're lucky if about sort of probably 5% of the people who follow you actually see your content. Like, one of the things that kind of enrages me about Facebook, and if you've ever used Facebook ads, you'll notice that one of the groups or the audiences that you can advertise to are your own followers, which, you know, I think is totally unfair, because these people have actively told Facebook they want to follow you and they want to see your content, but Facebook isn't putting it in their news feeds. So instead, as you know, the person creating the contact, they want you to pay them to get your contact your content in front of them, which is super frustrating. On the flip side, email marketing, we're quite lucky in the education world, like our open rates are quite high. So you should expect at least, I'd say, a minimum of about a 40% open rate. So compared to social media, like 40% of your audience are more likely to see your emails compared to 5% of your social media. So the way I kind of market my business is it's like a little ecosystem all the time. Like, the email feeds into the social media and they kind of circulate around that way. So for example, if I did a live inside my Facebook group, I wouldn't just leave it there and hope the algorithm puts it out there to the world. And I'm certainly not going to pay Facebook to put it out there to the world. So instead, I'll go to my email list and tell people, you know, really short, snappy email, just to let you know I did a video about X, Y, and Z. Here's why I think it's going to be really beneficial and helpful for you. Click here to go and watch it. And then again, what that's doing is taking people from my email into my social media. And just a little side note, like video and like podcasts and things like that, especially video, they're one of the most powerful, quickest ways to connect with your audience as well. So that just speeds up that kind of nurture process. Perfect. Okay. And what was the other one? And just little tips and tricks and advice in your area of expertise. One thing I would say, don't make your emails just a kind of like weekly newsletter of like free advice, because you still want to like be putting sales and things like that into it and signposting people. But there's no harm as well in like putting out that little extra, you know, bit of value and support for people. And again, this is where you can create new lead magnets, new resources, new things to help people, just to kind of re-engage them and get them back into your world and discovering what you do. Fab. Okay. So a little thing to think about just for a minute is, what does your ideal client want to hear about and how will it link to your offers? Because this is a really important thing as well, is that everything you talk about on social media, all roads should lead back to your services and your offers and how people can work with you. So I'll give you a minute to think about that. And if you're really stuck for ideas, give me a shout and I'm happy to help you. Thank you, Helen, as well, in the chat box. So ideas for stuff like this as well is thinking about, like, you know, what are your clients like pain points? Like, what do they get stuck with? What are the common problems people come to you with? And then the other side of it is like, what do they want to achieve? You know, so you are that kind of bridge for them, that sort of transformation between them being stuck and them getting the results that they want. And that in itself there, those two kind of pillars are great examples of stuff that you can talk about in your social media, in your email marketing and social media. Let's have a quick nosy. I find my client difficult to pinpoint. I worked a very niche area, but it's great breadth of levels. Some want to follow lessons at Key Stage 3, others need to excel at Oxbridge interviews. Okay. So I think, Anna, for your one, that's where, because I guess, yeah, like you're saying, the kind of like the Key Stage 3 compared to Oxbridge, they're like two very kind of different stages, aren't they? So
yeah,
I think
and sometimes I send a video with a little song for the sheep in the farm, and I think, well, I'm sending this to the A-level ones, which will find it funny, but it is a bit weird.
But in some ways though, I like that, because it's, you know, like you say, if they find it funny, that's good for like your relationship and rapport and things like that. But yeah, I think, Anna, this is where for you the segmenting is going to be really, really helpful, really powerful.
Absolutely.
It does mean that, you know, you're maybe sending more than one email a week and more than one campaign, but like I was sort of saying, with those stats compared to like social media, I personally feel it's really worth the investment to kind of have those kind of separate approaches. And again, from a social media point of view, like you've got your Key Stage 3 email, maybe your GCSE one, and then maybe your Oxbridge one. That's 3 different social media posts. That's like 3 days worth of content for you to put out as well on social media.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Thank you so much. This is so useful.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I'm going to have to sit down this afternoon and
it's fun. I love doing all this stuff, you know, it's fun for all the planning. But yeah, and the thing is, Anna, as well, like just for everybody, the example I gave to Anna there, like one email could even potentially be broken down into like 2 or 3 different Facebook posts or Instagram posts, whatever it is that you use as well. So this is what I mean, that like email always sits at the top of my tree, and then everything else gets kind of broken up and split up off the back of that. Because in email, you can kind of get away with maybe sending a bit of a longer body of text, but on social media, people are scrolling, you know, they've got like a 3-second, 6-second attention span. They don't want to read big paragraphs of text. So breaking up that content as well makes it much more like consumable for people as well. Fabulous. Okay, right. I'm just going to whiz through this last little bit because this is one of the biggest things. So how to grow your email list. So the easiest one, first of all, is current clients. And we kind of already talked about that and like the GDPR of getting people on your list and things like that. We've mentioned about the lead magnet. So this could be like a free download. There are, I mean, if you Google lead magnet ideas, there are so many different things out there. In fact, don't even just Google it. Go on ChatGPT after this and ask ChatGPT, tell it, I am an ex-tutor. I, you know, help people do X, Y, and Z. Can you give me 10 ideas for a lead magnet to help me grow your email list? Ta-da, it will give you everything you need. And then to be honest, ChatGPT will even help you write that lead magnet as well. But a caveat to that, don't copy and paste it. Put your own voice into it because it sounds like a robot, and an American robot at that. But it's still super powerful to like get those ideas rolling for you. Website form as well. So if you have a, Risha saying I love ChatGPT, me too. It's my best friend when it comes to this stuff. It just helps when you're just having a bit of a mind blank, doesn't it? So if you have websites, then having a little form on your website, so maybe like on your homepage, having something that's like, you know, sign up here for freebies and things like that. If you have a Facebook group, so if you're like building a community online or anything like that, definitely have one of your questions when people join the group as kind of, I gave the example earlier, something like, you know, every week I send out emails that give you tips and tricks around X, Y, and Z. If you would also like to receive those emails, please share your email list below and do it that way. I would say with my email list that 40% of my list comes from people joining my Facebook group, and then the other sort of 50-60% come from people, you know, signing up for my freebies and things outside of that Facebook group. So yeah, it's super powerful. It's a really good way to get people in. And then the last one is just social media. So literally just talking about it. So if you have like a lead magnet, like a freebie, as much as you're, especially as well, like if you're promoting your services, another great thing to promote is your free download. So I'll give you a tip. So one of the things I know a lot of us do here when we're trying to sort of find new students and attract them is we go into some of these huge Facebook groups, which is filled with hundreds, if not thousands of tutors, all kind of offering similar things and putting their adverts on there and stuff like that. And we know what it's like, don't we? It's like, I always use the analogy. It's like, imagine walking down the high street and there's just like hundreds of businesses. Imagine if you're the customer and you're walking down the high street and there are hundreds of businesses all waving their flyers in your face saying, buy my thing, buy my thing. Like, it's totally overwhelming. Who do you know how to go, sort of who to go with? You probably run away. So what I always say is, in these really big settings or community, like other community groups, I really recommend, rather necessarily promoting your services and your paid products, promote things like your lead magnet, because you're just being helpful. You're giving them a freebie, and in return they are joining your list, and then you are going to kind of gently sell to them in the background. But there's much more like a relationship going on there. It's much more, I don't know, for me it's like it's a less icky selling thing of just putting a post out there saying buy my thing. It's a really nice way for them to get to know you before you then say, okay, come buy my thing, if that's going to be helpful. And it'll really make you stand out amongst the sea of kind of, you know, adverts of people just necessarily saying to come buy their services. Charlotte, go for it, please. Oh, you're on mute again.
Do you know what? I keep using the wrong thing. Anyhow, yeah, I'm thinking about all the freebies, because obviously there's a certain amount you want to keep offering. But do you find then, to keep it being generated, you're constantly having to kind of recycle or change the freebie offering? So that's something you have to plan in as well, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I've always created something new, maybe every quarter, roughly. But then, so what I've done, so in my education business, it's a bit different to Love Mondays Club. In Love Mondays Club, I tend to create new things. In the 11 Plus English Club, we have certain seasonal things. So for example, years ago, I created this little A Christmas Carol course, and it has brought me so much revenue over the years. It's a little free course, but every Christmas I promote it, and it has like it's like they're only allowed access to it for 3 weeks, so it gets people coming to the website as well, so it works really well. And yeah, just every year I recycle that. So if you follow our page, you'll see around the 15th of December we'll suddenly start talking about it again, and then we'll close the doors to it in January. And then similar, Easter, we do like a little Easter freebie promo that we give away. So I think for education it's actually easier, because again we have new groups of students coming through every year, so you can almost create seasonal freebies and then just rinse and repeat.
Thank you.
That's all right, pleasure.
We have 2 minutes left, Helen.
Oh, sorry,
so
right, I'm going to
I
be
have
super
to
speedy,
stop.
guys.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so we've kind of talked about the freebie thing. Now, guys, I'm going to do something totally shameless here. If you would like a free resource and more support with your email marketing, I do have a little email checklist. So I'll pop the link for that in the chat box as well, and you'll be very welcome to sign up to that. So it just talks a bit about thank you, Helen, as well. I've just, it goes into a bit more detail and gives you checklists and things based on kind of what I've talked about today and some ideas. But otherwise, guys, so quick final reflections. I've got 1 minute. Thinking about, off the back of today, how would you like email marketing to streamline your business? What admin could it sort of remove for you? What does your ideal client want to hear about, and how will it link to your offers? And finally, what freebies can you create quickly? Because I bet everyone here's got some amazing resources collecting dust on their computers that they can use, and start building your list. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found it helpful.
Absolutely helpful. We absolutely did. We're all buzzing on every side of the chat and community about what you just brought to us here. And yes, you've reminded me all those lovely things that I created that are sitting collecting dust somewhere. So thank you so much, Helen. I would love to remind you that QT members have a special discount to the Love Mondays Club support. Helen, do you know what that is?
Yes, so I am at the moment, I've actually got very limited spaces, but I'm doing a little offer just in December and January, helping people set up their email marketing. So it's called Kickstart Your Email Marketing. Helen's done it, or Helen's doing it, actually, we're doing it, aren't we? A few people here have actually done it with me. So essentially, if you're sat here thinking, I really want to get my email marketing set up, but I have no idea how to do it, and I just want someone to do it for me, that is what those sessions are all about. So we work together one-to-one, I show you how it's all done and kind of set you on your way. So it's like a plug and play setup. So yeah, that's all.
Fantastic. So if you if you want to know more about that, that'll be in the email and in the community afterwards. Thank you, Helen, so much. We are going to take a 15-minute break, and then I will be talking with you about how to have a career in tutoring you love. Because that's what we're building up to here, and it has to come from that really intentional, exciting, passionate place. That's what we do in Qualified Tutor. So please do take a break, stretch your legs, and I will see you again in 15 minutes. As always, I am dropping my link in the chat. If you would like to book in a 15-minute conversation with me, I would be really, really glad to speak with you. See you in just a few minutes.